apparently you got to turn things on, you know? Good afternoon. Thank you guys all so much for coming out today. This is really, really cool. This is awesome. Before I start, I just wanted to say, maybe we could, put our hands together for all the team here at Shortbox that have put together this awesome event. I feel very, very, very special to have been invited up here to join you guys here today. So this is really, really cool to be a part of this. A few weeks ago, I ran into Gene. Of course, you guys know Gene from Shortbox at another comic book con. And he kind of went up to me and he said, hey, it'd be really cool if you came to Shortbox Live and did a conversation on, just the state of the market. Think of it like a TED Talk, if you will. Now, I proposed to him that it would be a lot more entertaining to do a Darkhawk appreciation cover panel where we go issue by issue talking about Darkhawk comics, but he seemed to think that a market discussion would be a much more entertaining panel and provide more value back to you guys. So here we are. Agree to disagree, Gene. Agree to disagree. We'll try to make this entertaining, even though we're going to be talking about that. I wanted to start off by asking you all a question. How many people here have ever bought a comic book because they thought it was undervalued? Raise your hand. Oh, okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Quite a few of you, right? Well, let me ask you this. How did you know that comic was undervalued? What does it mean for a comic book to be undervalued? How do you quantify that? Is it a book that has a first appearance of a character soon to be in a movie? Is that the surefire way for a book to go up in value, to go to the moon? This is a thumbnail of one of my first YouTube videos that I ever did. Me talking about 5 undervalued comic books for the MCU. Revisiting this video, it was pretty cringy because I had to watch myself talk, but I didn't mind a lot of my picks, although there's one pick in this video that stood out to me. You guys see the thumbnail? You know which one I'm probably thinking of? Eternals number 3. First appearance of Cersei. Gemma Chan is going to play her in a movie. This book is sure to go to the moon. I mean, nobody cared about Iron Man before we had Robert Downey Jr., right? Look at where his books are today. She's going to be the star of Eternals. This book is going to go up in value. Everyone's going to want it. This book is going to take us to the moon. Well, was I right? It depends. This is a graph of the Eternal 3 in a CGC 9.8. I made my pick right around there when the book was valued at $361. I felt pretty good about it too because, you can see there was a little bit of a dip right there. So I felt like it's a good time to buy the dip, buy Eternals number 3. And sure enough, in 4 months' time, the book would jump up to $1,265. It's 4x. I was a genius, right? Well, that depends. Because shortly thereafter, the book came down. The book came way down. The book came way down. In fact, the book came so far down that today it is valued at $283. That is a drop of 20%. From the time I made my pick to where it is today, it doesn't seem so undervalued anymore. So I wonder, how could I have been so sure as to call this book undervalued? Why did I think that it actually was undervalued? Had I known what I know today, back then, I might have actually been so bold as to say that perhaps the book is actually overvalued at that time. But maybe, more importantly, to all of that, I wondered to myself, what responsibilities did I have as someone making a YouTube video telling people that this book is undervalued? And what if they were to act on my advice? I suppose this would be a good time to officially introduce myself. My name is Mickey Finnegan, and by day, I live in Los Angeles and work in the entertainment industry. I'm a writer and a director, and I've had the great privilege to have worked on a lot of amazing projects. I do a lot of screenwriting for animations and video games. I've been able to work with tremendous talent all across the world in different mediums of entertainment. And I've had my work viewed by millions and millions of people, which was pretty amazing. But when COVID happened, I decided to start a YouTube channel because I had nothing better to do. And I decided to call it Swaggle Hoss Comics, a YouTube channel that talked about my passion for comic book collecting. Now, under this identity, I now speak to thousands of people using whiteboards to explain comic books. A bit of a sidebar. People sometimes ask me where I got the name Swaggle Hoss from. Well, years ago, I worked with an artist whose name was Soulja Boy. We were doing a music video called Pretty Boy Swag. And we got along well, and in the middle of the day, he came up to me and he said, you know, Mickey, you got swag, man, but you got more of like a nerd swag. I was like, okay, a little bit of a neg, but I'll take it, you know. We got along well, you know, and Swaggle became sort of this moniker that I would pick up for myself. Later I would add Hoss to be a cool way to say house. So Swaggle Hoss means House of Nerd Swag. I think it'd be cooler if my name was Pretty Boy Swag Hoss. I'd rather be Pretty Boy Swag, but you know, we take what we can get. Now, in my professional career, knowing that millions of people was going to see my work never really bothered me. It was a abstract number, a fake number on a YouTube thumbnail or video or whatever, and it never really connected. But in my YouTube world, knowing that I could make a video about undervalued comic books, and then an hour later, see that on eBay, 20 copies of that comic book had been sold. That actually gave me a lot of anxiety. Truly, it did. There were real viewers behind those numbers. And even worse, they were actually listening to what I had to say. So I started to wonder, what could I do to be more sure about the information that I put out there? How can I make better comic recommendations? Would there be ways for me to more accurately determine the true values of comic books? Could I create systems that put my biases aside? And could I have models that would have helped me sooner identify corrections for books like Eternals #3? I went on a mission to understand the comic book market as best as I possibly could, but not just from a cultural point of view of a character showing up in a movie, but this time from a data-driven one. One of the systems I would eventually create is a series on my YouTube channel that has since become very, very popular called the Comic Book Index. Over the last year, I've tracked the top 100 most popular comic books within each era, silver, bronze, and copper, to understand the state of the markets on a monthly basis. You guys can imagine what makes up these indexes. You know, Silver Age, you have things like Fantastic Four 48 and Iron Man #1, and Bronze Age, you have Hulk 181, and Copper Age, you have X-Men 266. You know, all these types of books that are very, very popular that we're all familiar with. I got tired of hearing people say that this book is undervalued, this book is overvalued, this book is going up, this book is going down. I wanted to know, from a 30,000 bird's eye view, what the actual values of these comics would be and what is actually going on in the comic book market. And let me just add that as someone who fancies himself a creative, this data entry was terrible. It really, really did not. It was not fun. But it was worth it. Because as soon as I put it together, looking years back, I instantly was able to see clear trends in markets' behaviors. Sure, some individual books went up and some went down, but the key books in the aggregate, in this index vacuum, actually showed me that comic books have returned an 8 to 15% year-over-year return on their fair market values. This had to mean something. Because where once I would think a movie trailer would be the sole driver of increasing values, it dawned on me that there were much larger factors at play. What I generally found is that while movies can have an effect on the demand of a certain comic book, although that movie might in fact make that comic book more overvalued at that moment, the overall market seems to be much more influenced by macroeconomic factors. Comic values go up in direct correlation to interest rate cuts. And conversely, comic values go down in direct correlation to interest rate hikes. Now, I realize that correlation does not equal causation. But when I look at graphs like this and trace it along the movements of the Federal Reserve, I mean, it's correlated AF. I won't belabor this because I know that this can get pretty dense in this forum, but very, very quickly I will walk you through this, what you're looking at this slide. Of course, this is a comic we're all very familiar with, Avengers 57, first appearance of Vision. If you go back to the early 2000s, you'll see that this book has been kind of on a trajectory. It's been going up in value year after year. And then sometime around 2015, you can see that had a little bit of a spike there and then had a little bit of a correction. And corrected all the way back down to a low point in 2018. Well, what happened at the time? As you can see from the graph on the left, there's interest rates being hiked from 2015 through 2018. You see a little bit of a pullback there. And then in 2018, when they started to cut interest rates and put more money in the system, well, the comic book went back up in value. Now I realize this is just one comic and this is just one data point, but after studying this stuff and looking at it and doing indexes and looking after book after book after book after book, I started to realize that this is something that occurs with a lot of comic books out there. I also realized that Avengers 57 had a correlation to Age of Ultron that came out in 2015, so maybe people were excited about it at the time. But similarly, a lot of other books followed the same path that had no association to that film. Most of you are probably familiar with what happened to comic book prices during COVID, but in case you missed it, I'll explain that comics in early 2021 doubled, tripled, and in the case of Eternals #3, even quadrupled overnight. There were many reasons for this, of course, like I've already discussed. People bored at home, movie speculation. But what I think increased the values most is the money stimulus that went into the markets. And people put that money into risk assets, like comic books. I mean, it makes sense, right? You're going to print more money. There's more money to spend. There's more people buying. There's more demand. There's less supply. Everything goes to the moon. Do you guys remember what it was like at that time? I know this is a little dense. Interest rates were 0%. It was free money time, baby. If you own a house, your house was pumping. Your stocks were pumping. Your crypto was pumping. So it only made sense to pump your comic books as well. Black Knight? Who's that? Who cares? He's going to go to the moon. What are you asking for? 3K? I'll give you 4. Here you go. YOLO. But nothing lasts forever. Of course, there's been ups and downs in the values you can see throughout the months and things like that after 2021. But what do you start to really see happening at the start of March of 2022? That's the beginning of the major corrections and pullbacks in the markets. And what also happened in March of 2022? Well, the interest rates were raised for the very first time since 2018 and have since been raised in the preceding months multiple times, causing the index to continue to go down and down. It's easy to see now that a correction was coming, but at the time it wasn't so obvious. And it certainly wasn't obvious not having this index to inform you. However, as I was using this model to look at comic book values, it became increasingly clear to me that all the gains of 2021 were soon going to be erased. It didn't matter if a comic book had a movie coming out in association, that comic book was going to get pulled back down in value. To quote Thanos, dread it, run from it, the correction was going to arrive all the same. It didn't matter if you were AF-15, X-Men 1, Avengers 1, Eternals #3. Your book was coming back down in value, and in time, sure enough, no matter the grade, no matter the comic book, they all did. I'd like to add that I chose to make these indexes not just to kind of give myself more information and be able to give comic book collectors stock investor trading tips or day trading tips. What I really did was I wanted to make indexes and put out information that can help people navigate the unprecedented 2 years we had in the collectible hobby. As you can see, somebody had a pretty bad return on their investment. while I'm sure there are many Nostradamuses in this room that knew that the comic book market was overinflated in 2021 and took their entire collections and sold all their books at the height, and now here today at Shortbox Live, they're going to buy them all back for half price. There were a lot of comic book collectors that got overzealous and overpaid for a lot of books, and worst part of all, got a little bit disillusioned with the hobby. I see it in my comment section all the time. Perhaps if they had more data-driven tools, they could have seen that if comic books could be undervalued, then most certainly they could be overvalued as well. Before I came in, I saw a sign at one of the booths over there that said, "We pay the most for comic books." And I was like, damn, man, story of my life. I pay the most for comic books too. I don't know if you guys watch my YouTube. I did a lot of unboxings last year. Hit close to home, trigger warning. But is it all doom and gloom? Are comics now going to zero? If you were someone who bought all these undervalued books at the height of the market, and now I'm wondering if you should still continue to buy. Is now the time? Are things going to go lower? Am I going to catch a falling knife? Can I possibly offer you a little bit of data-driven copium? I think I can. How is the comic book market today? More importantly, where is the comic book market going in the future? Truth is, I don't know. Nobody does. But, I don't have a crystal ball, and as I've already established, I'm not very good at giving predictions on undervalued keys. But as I continue to do my index and update the values, and as I continue to study lines, charts, and graphs, and study the floor values, what you do see is that comic book prices have been holding above their 2020 value, which is interesting, because to me that presumes that while there was a lot of money in the system, we'll do it live. While there was still a lot of money in the system, there was a lot of it that, and while the money is now being drained out, there is still a lot of organic demand and organic appreciation for comic books that still follow this trend line. On top of that, COVID brought in a lot of new comic book collectors to the hobby. There are more people collecting comics today in 2019 than there were in 2019 and 2020. And frankly, I think that there's going to be even more tomorrow. Just look around the room. We're here at Shortbox Live. We're in the toughest economic time since 2008. We're in the middle of a WGA writer's strike, if you guys happen to know about that, meaning no superhero content for a little bit of time. And we got a guy here, a random YouTuber, talking about market corrections. Yet, here in this room today, there are hundreds of people spending lots and lots of money on comic books. Somebody once said to me that comic book collectors are resilient. I believe that to be true. Comic collectors are resilient, and they should be. This is a really fun hobby. Collectors are going to continue to buy what they love, regardless of a bear market, a bull market. Doesn't matter. And there's no amount of data that I can pull to demonstrate that. We love comics. And lucky for us, in a lot of ways, this is one of the best times to be involved in the hobby. Let's see if I got it right. There we go. Never has there been more tools in the hobby for things like pricing and cataloging, more social channels to connect with people who are like-minded and love comic books, more new age companies like Shortbox that are finally bringing comic books out of the Bronze Age and into the modern age for the new type of collector so they can actually enjoy this hobby. I'm not just blowing smoke. I really do believe in what Shortbox is doing. I really do appreciate what they're doing, and I certainly hope that they continue to invest in their data-driven material so that I can spend less time doing lines, charts, and graphs and more time looking at splash pages. I don't know where Gene is right now, but seriously, Gene, please take this index over for me. I'm pretty over it. Do I think we're out of the woods yet? No, I don't think so. Is now the time to buy? Maybe. But I do think that while interest rates are high and there are still more global economic pressures, I think that the possibility of some comic books to continue to go down is certainly on the table. They're going to feel those macroeconomic factors. But I also do think that there is going to be a point in time when the market actually recovers, when things turn the corner. And Jerome, Papa Powell, decides to cut interest rates and turn the money printer back on. And I promise you, looking through all the data, at that time, comic books will go back to the moon. Perhaps 10 years from now, we're going to be at Shortbox Live 10, all walking around this room, looking at all the prices on the wall, thinking to ourselves, man, that book quadrupled seemingly overnight. I should have bought that thing back in 2023. It was so undervalued. Thank you.